What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Hard Count. The best programming, CJ, by the way, on a Tuesday night. Nothing better than this.
Nothing better. Nothing better, man. Glad to be back with my guy. Took a couple weeks off. It's kind of a slow season right now, but big day coming up in a couple days. So, we had to come back and chop it up and break down the draft.
CJ, that's what we're here for. But, not only us, because, CJ, you know what we like to do? We like to use our reach and our resources, and we like to get very intelligent people on this program because, well, I don't bring in much intelligence. CJ, yes, of course. For me, listen, I don't do intelligence very often. So with that being said, we're going to bring on our former unwrapped brethren, Mr. Sam, and I would love to say his last name, but I always forget how to pronounce it. So I'm going to bring him on. Listen, he introduce himself.
Samuel Daring.
See, I would have had it right too.
Samuel Pickens. But Sam Daring, it's good to see you guys. It's been a while. Been catching up with a couple of you guys every now and then, so it's good to be on here. Thanks for having me.
No, the pleasure is all ours, brother.
Yes, sir.
Listen, Sam, why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to until last time, and then we'll jump right in everything. Gotta give you time to plug everything that you do.
Yeah, so I've been working at CBS 58 out in Milwaukee, the digital team, digital social media, write-ups. I write up stuff for the website on the digital side of things. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm very fortunate.
I love
it's great.
That.
It's great.
That for you. Listen, what I know you love even more though is some college football, some draft time stuff. So we're gonna jump into it because, listen, Sam, I've people who watch this program know college. I'm out. Not my thing. So listen, I know what I'm doing when these conversations come up. I like to sit on the sideline, and then I'll grade the draft about in a year or two when I actually know if they can play in the NFL. Because coming out, I am useless. Let me tell you. So with that, listen, we're gonna bring up the draft order right here. I haven't found it on the lovely Twitter page. Shout out Twitter, because I can't believe nobody's actually made a full, proper. We found a graphic, and the graphic was wrong. So I don't know what we're doing out here, but we're gonna go through the draft order. If Sam's got any thoughts on who's going in what spot, we'll go with that. Obviously, we'll address whatever the team needs, and we'll go from there. Does it sound good with everybody? Because I think it sounds great. All right, well, let's get
sounds
started
good.
then.
That's wonderful.
The Jags are back at it again, picking number one. There's been a lot of stuff going on here. It was Aiden Hutchinson for a long time. Now it's changed up a little bit. I believe Walker might be the odds favorite to be picked number one right now. Sam, you got any thoughts on this? CJ, you as well. But Sam, we'll start with you, of course. The guest privilege.
I get the edge need, but you just tagged Cam Robinson not once, but you tagged him for a second time. I still think Evan Neal is a big need. And you draft Aiden Hutchinson. I don't think he starts over Josh Allen. K'Lavon Chasen's been all right. I like Thibodeau. Trayvon Walker is a top 10 prospect. I would argue he's top 5. I'd say number 1 pick is a little bit too rich for me. But I truly believe they still need a tackle. You need 2 tackles. Even if they had Cam Robinson locked in, you need 2 tackles. And that's what makes this pick even easier for me too, is the fact that they just tagged Cam Robinson again. I think it was for the second time. So they have Walker Little, who was a big sleeper of mine, last year.
Yep.
But Cam Robinson, you don't even know the future of Cam Robinson. And Walker Little, if I remember correctly, did not play his last year at Stanford, but been very productive. They don't have a lot of depth at offensive tackle, and it's tough because they sit in a tough spot being 1 because there's really no player, maybe you could even just say quarterback, that is really worth trading up to the first pick. So I would still go offensive tackle, Evan Neal.
Now, Sam, I've heard that a lot too. That this draft isn't worth, trading up and really having to get your guy, because I've heard a lot that you could get the same quality player maybe lower in the draft, and a lot of teams are thinking of trading back. Do you agree with that sentiment? Like, is this not one of those, like, all-time great drafts? Obviously, we have no idea, because who do we know? They could all of a sudden become Hall of Famers. But at this moment, is that how this draft is looked upon?
I mean, it depends what the position is. I mean, edge, oh my God. Like, this is an incredible edge class. I love this. The secondary class is just unreal. Like, this is a big defensive class. And I really like the offensive tackle class. And, I spent the past 2 years saying deep OT class, but you're going to see a lot of talent, go away very quickly. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. You got guys like Rasheed Walker. And, I spent some time covering Penn State, still do here and there when I can. Rasheed Walker, that's the biggest thing I love about Penn State, or not just Penn State, Big Ten offensive linemen, is they bring a lot of experience. And I was just doing my research yesterday. Thayer Munford, offensive tackle for Penn State. He's the most experienced lineman in the Big Ten. He's the most experienced lineman in this draft. I don't know if he was in this draft of the Big Ten. Extremely reliable, multiple starts. Rasheed Walker was touted as a first, second round guy, before the year started, and struggled immensely. But to be fair, that entire offensive line struggled immensely. So Rasheed Walker is a bit of a project, but that's a guy that, if I'm the Packers, especially since they just cut Billy Turner, Lucas Patrick is gone. They don't have a lot of interior depth. They don't have a lot of tackle depth either. So Rasheed Walker's a guy I'm looking at, as well as Cole Strange from Chattanooga. So I think there's going to be some tackle depth as you get into the later rounds. And I think, receivers, it's deep, but it's tough to beat the depth for the past 2 years. But I would definitely say this is a lot more of a defensive class than offense.
Now, CJ, I'm curious what you feel about this statement as well, because a lot of the things that I've heard is that Hutchinson might be more, pro ready, or, you kind of know what you're getting. And then when it comes to Walker, it might be kind of a thing of, oh, he's super athletic. He has all the potential. We just have to get it out of him. If you're the GM, what do you think you go with? And I mean, how much of an impact does that have? Because I feel like in my case, it's almost like, yeah, I would love somebody with a lot of potential, but I feel like if I get the potential pick wrong, I'm looked down upon further than if I get the sure pick that turns out to be a bust pick wrong.
100%. I feel like just for the Jaguars case, they don't want to be here too many times at number 1 or number 2. So you want to get the safe pick. I agree with Sam. I mean, you could either go a guy that could protect Trevor Lawrence, or a guy that could get after the quarterback and pair him up with Josh Allen on that defensive line. I would go with Aiden Hutchinson. I feel like it's the safer pick. Walker's getting a lot of talk and a lot of praise, and we always see this throughout the draft time. It's always 1 or 2 guys towards right before the draft. Right before the draft, they get a lot of talk, they get a lot of praise. But I would just go with that safe pick. Aiden Hutchinson had a great year with Michigan, 14 sacks. I think that's the best move for them.
Yeah, we have Christian in the color cast comments. Georgia guys usually have more room to improve versus a Bama or OSU guy. And then he said Aiden is a speeding bullet to a constant 7.5 sack season. So, I mean, there's definitely – I think the odds have changed a lot. I think Walker's technically the betting favorite to be picked number 1 overall now.
Yeah.
That had changed a lot over the past week. So, I will say this. As somebody who doesn't watch college – but I really do enjoy the draft, even though after like the 5th pick, I have no idea who anybody is. I think this makes it more interesting. Like I understand the drafts were like, listen, everybody and their mother knew Lawrence was going first last year. We knew a lot of quarterbacks were going in all these years, but the intrigue at 1 actually makes this interesting now, because there's a lot of people that have no idea what's actually going to happen. I think it makes it so you actually want to tune in instead of like, all right, I'll tune in at pick like 10 when I know things are actually going to start getting a little wonky, because we knew last year Lawrence was 1. We knew Zach Wilson was going to be 2. The intrigue kind of started at pick 3 when everybody thought it was going to be Mac for a little bit, and then obviously they went in a different direction. But I will say from the very beginning, the fact that there's a lot of people that don't know what's happening, I find that interesting. Speaking of things that don't know what they're doing, the Lions are number 2 once again. Nobody should really be surprised here. A little talk of quarterback stuff. Not much. Just they've thrown it out there. I see Sam shaking his head. CJ's making a face.
It's a mistake.
I mean,
yeah, it is.
I mean, listen, CJ, what's happening at 2 then? We thinking, huh? A little defensive end right here. What are we going with?
I mean, you could go Walker, you could go Neal, try to protect Goff for now, and then hopefully next year they're going to be right there in the top 5, I believe, again, and they could go get a quarterback in next year's draft class. I think that makes the most sense for the Lions. I think they're right there with Jacksonville in terms of getting safe picks, guys that that could contribute right away. So I think Neal, Icky as well. I mean, Walker, obviously we're talking about him being number 1, so he could go 2 as well. But I would just pair a guy up next to Penei Sewell right there, left and right tackle, and protect Goff, and then hopefully protect your future young quarterback going forward.
Sam?
Yeah, I don't think quarterback makes any sense at all, especially probably going to be a bottom 3 team next year. Everyone knows the Lions have ways to go. I think they're trending in the right direction. They're going to be in a situation because I want to compare Goff and Wentz just because they're in the same draft class. They are completely different situations. Sure, they have buyout, or I think they've got potential outside their next year. Carson Wentz, this is his last year to be starting quarterback. Whereas Detroit, they don't have to rush to bring in, like let's say they take Malik Willis at 2. They don't have to rush to bring in a guy, or even if they take a quarterback, I think they should take one at 32, and they should take a guy like Desmond Ridder or a Sam Howell, because neither of those guys should be starting day 1, and you get a for sure year out of Jared Goff. And that's the thing that teams do a lot is, they see the potential. It's a little bit of the recency bias, in the sense of, their recent year is take Zach Wilson, for example. Zach Wilson was good for 2 years, but, Zach Wilson really popped off last year. He should have sat an entire year. And this is the thing that I always have an issue with too, is, teams drafting first-round quarterbacks that aren't Power 5 players. And I like Willis. I don't mind him. I'm not as high on Malik Willis as a lot of other people are. Caleb Skinner knows I love Desmond Ridder, but I think Desmond Ridder needs to go in a situation where he has a lot of time to develop, because he almost beat Georgia in the bowl game in the New Year's Six Bowl last year, but he also got exposed against arguably one of, if not the historically best defense in Georgia football history. So, Desmond Ridder, I want him to end up on the Indianapolis Colts. As a dynasty owner, I'm a massive buy. Even Matt Corral, I've seen people compare him to, I believe it was Baker. I've seen Baker, I've seen Mariota. I kind of like Baker a little bit better, just because in terms of his decision making, Matt Corral can be very, very shaky at times. So, and I've never been a huge buyer of Titans taking a quarterback, but this year could be the year. But going back on topic here, I still think the Lions are taking Aiden Hutchinson at 2. But if you want to wait till 32, you could do David Ajabo, a guy that, is continuing to rise up boards. Would not be shocked if he's a first-round guy. Is Penn State's Arnold Ebiketie, especially if they go after Kyle Hamilton with the 2nd pick, who I really think people are making way too big of a deal about his 40 in his combine, because he runs faster in his 40. They want better 40s. They should make these guys run in pads, is what they should do. So
facts.
I don't understand how you don't.
Yeah, but Arnold Ebiketie, they need edge. They need edge, and I think he's very likely, especially with the defensive class as strong as this, they're going to go heavy defense. But I still think it's Aiden, but my second choice here is definitely Kyle Hamilton.
We move on to the Texans, another team that needs a lot. I mean, like it's true. Like these first, 5 picks, and then I would skip.
Jets and
6.
the Giants have 2 top 10 picks.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
they need all the help they need.
So
Possible.
like the Panthers, I feel like I could see a direction that they go in, but like the first at least 5, you really can go anywhere, which is why, like, what don't the Texans need? Like, let's be honest. So I don't know what direction they lean, Sam. You're GM of them right now, so you get to pick.
Trayvon Walker. I had Thibodeau here for a while. I like Thibodeau. I still think Thibodeau's the best in the class, but he's going to fall a little bit because of his character, which I don't know. I think there's a difference between character and maturity, especially if you grow from the maturity. But I still think it's Trayvon Walker, and I like that. I don't know his name. He's the guy that commented earlier. Trayvon Walker is a guy that I think Georgia did not fully unlock his potential, and I think there's a couple guys in there. I think there's still more that can be done and fully unlocked. Same thing with David Ajabo, and same thing with Jason Owe last year. I don't think Penn State fully unlocked it. That's because those guys weren't in the spotlight. And, like I said earlier, like this was historically, I would argue, the best defense that the Georgia Bulldogs have ever had in history. They're going to have multiple guys picked, like in the first couple rounds. Next year, they're going to have Jalen Carter. Next year, they're going to have Nolan Smith, who very well could have entered and been picked in the first 2 rounds this year. Telling you, if you put Trayvon Walker in a team like LSU, where he's the spotlight, it's the first pick. But I think I was hearing as well that Trayvon Walker did shed a bit of weight. It's incredible to me, like the coaching staff there, what they're able to do with like these 350+ guys like Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis, and how well they're able to move. And because he shed that weight, Trayvon Walker became much more versatile guy. Like he's a big outside guy, but even him shedding weight, because before he was shedding weight, they had him making plays on the inside. So I think throughout his career, Trayvon Walker became a much more versatile guy, extremely versatile. Obviously, he made that big leap this year, and the combine was Georgia football.
Yeah, I see Walker. Obviously could be a top 3 pick as well. Lovie Smith, defensive-minded head coach. I think it makes the most sense. That division is outside of really well. The Titans have a solid roster, but maybe not the best quarterback. But I think the Colts are right there as well. And getting Matt Ryan is going to help them. But like you said, to start for the Texans, they need a lot of work, and you could get a guy that could get to the quarterback and be disruptive. And a guy like Trayvon Walker would be a great pick for Houston.
I look at the Jets at 4, and I wonder, boys, is this our first corner of the day? I've heard a lot of corner stuff here. Is this where Sauce goes? I've heard some. I was listening to the McAfee show today. I can't remember who they had on, but he said that he liked Stingley over everybody. Had him as the number 1 ranked corner instead of Sauce. That's another thing that might be up in the air to some people. But is this the first corner we see taken? And if it is, CJ, who do you think it is?
Yeah, Stingley was really talked about preseason. He was supposed to be the guy coming out of LSU. He was in a lot of people's mocks before the season started. And then just the way that Sauce Gardner played for Cincinnati all year. Him and, Kobe Bryant on the other side had a really solid year for Cincinnati. But for the Wildcats, I think for the Jets, I think you could probably go corner here or tackle. Even though they have Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker, I think he moved to guard, if I'm not mistaken. Sam could correct me on that if I'm wrong. But so they could get even more athletic up front. I think that's necessary. You got to protect Zach Wilson. He's not the biggest guy, so I think that would help. That would help them tremendously. Or you could go out and get a corner. I mean, the Dolphins have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and we know the Buffalo Bills have Stephon Diggs. You need a guy that could cover one of those guys. So I would go tackle. But I wouldn't be upset if they take a guy like Sauce. He has a lot of upside, has a lot of length. He's definitely needed in today's NFL defensively with how everybody's passing the football now.
I can see corner here, but this is a deep enough class where I think they can afford waiting, especially since they got the 10th pick. This is assuming they don't get Deebo, and that 10th pick's not going to the Niners for Garrett Wilson being a Niner, but this is assuming they're going to keep the 10th pick. I'm going to Akeem Ekwonu. I like that you brought up Elijah Vera Tucker, and it's a lot of things I love about these O-line. Is extremely versatile, and Rasheed Walker, take him for example, extremely reliable, but he also only played on the left side, and that can be a knock for some guys. I think he's going to be, I think the way he played, he should be a late third, but I think he's going to be a very fringe day two guy if he ends up falling there. But I think he's going to be in the early fourth. But that's a knock to some people. That makes him fall just a tad is the fact that you only have the experience playing that position. And that's why people love Rashawn Slater so much. Is Rashawn Slater from last year loved? Yeah, he was extremely versatile and able to play. Make plays and be extremely productive as both a guard and a tackle. So I love the idea of pairing up the two guards, Elijah Vera Tucker and Akeem Ekwonu, especially if I think they would make Ekwonu play guard, but I think he is more than capable of playing tackle. But I think he's going to be that primary guard, especially if he goes to a team like the Jets. Elijah Vera Tucker and Akeem Ekwonu, and Mekhi Becton, that's a pretty promising young front line, if you ask me.
And you got to remember too, the 49ers, not 49ers, their offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, coming from San Francisco, he likes to run the football. So, that's honestly the best move for me. Go get a tackle, be athletic up front, make things easier for a young quarterback in Zach Wilson.
Listen, the Giants are number 5 here, CJ. And if I'm a fan of them, I'm immediately driving down to Jersey, wherever the war room is, and throwing hands with the GM if he's not picking an offensive lineman. I'm sorry. Listen, their offensive line has been awful for at least a minimum. And I mean, I'm talking awful, bottom 30 for a minimum of 4 years. So there ain't no way I got the 5th pick and I'm not going to lineman here. Whoever the best one is, I don't care if it's a tackle, a guard, the center from Iowa. I know he's, been talked about a lot. I need somebody.
Yeah, they could go Ekwonu again, like Sam said, if the Jets don't take him. Got Charles Cross as well. Would probably be a solid option. I think, yeah, you got to go offensive line. This has been a flaw for the Giants since Eli was there. How putrid that offensive line is. We've had discussions about Saquon and how he's kind of declined a little bit. And is it him or is it the O-line? So if you get some athleticism up front and move the football, and you have a guy that's been proven in this league in Saquon, I think that's the best route. Brian Daboll coming in, offensive-minded head coach. Joe Shine coming from Buffalo as well. I think that's probably the best move. Yeah, getting the offensive line. And praying that it works, because we know Eric Flowers was a flop and some of those other picks. Didn't they get Andrew Thomas?
Yeah, Andrew Thomas hasn't been bad.
Andrew Thomas was solid. He was solid. But yeah, just keep improving that O-line. Why not? I mean, got to get athletic up there. The younger, the better.
Yeah, I also had Kyle Hamilton, but the team right in front of you, Panthers, you can't assume that they're not going to take Kyle Hamilton. There was also the GM also came out and said, I think I saw this today actually, they're probably going to take a quarterback with their first pick. It seems likely. Maybe who do you trust? You trust him or you trust Ben McAdoo, who is basically advocating for Sam Darnold? Yeah. Ben McAdoo declared Sam Darnold the starter. I think that they have to. I think if they had just almost any other coach other than Matt Rule, I mean, they're screwed. Cam Newton's a free agent. You can't get by with PJ Walker. Sure, PJ Walker can be a reliable backup, but Darnold's shown nothing. I don't know why they're not going after Baker Mayfield.
Post draft, maybe they could.
Yeah. I think there's some teams that, like, take the Niners, for example. I think that if the Niners want to trade Deebo, they should trade him before tomorrow's draft. Because if you really think about it, all these teams are going to take care of their wide receiver business. Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Burks, Pickens, his value is going to drop. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if Baker just ends up getting cut because you signed your set.
Is that Bill Belichick?
Huh?
Is that Bill Belichick talking to the 49ers?
Well, that's not happening.
Oh, no, don't worry. See, like I said on Twitter, they would trade for Deebo, and then I would wake up out of my dream.
That man loves his draft picks, getting safeties from Louisiana Monroe, and out of nowhere, he's not making that move.
We're gonna take somebody from North Alabama.
But I like Charles Cross here. Especially if you don't take Charles Cross, I don't think you can just assume that the Panthers are going to take a quarterback at 6. So I like Charles Cross here, especially if you talk about pass blocker. He's the best pass blocker in this draft as an offensive tackle. So I think that's a really, really good option. I think, what is it? They gave Daniel Jones, or I just saw the Schefter report today. The Giants have until some time to decline Daniel Jones' option. It was some deadline that he gave the deadline. It was coming up here. But yeah, I like Charles Cross here.
Listen, CJ, us being in New York, we obviously get to see the reaction tenfold of whatever the Jets and Giants do. Now, for the sake of me not having to watch bad football for literally my entire life in New York, because listen, I got the NFL, little Sunday ticket. Shout out college for making it cheaper for me, so I don't have to actually watch it. But the fact that it's on my TV, I would like for the 1 year, the Jets or the Giants, maybe both, if the world comes to an end, where I could actually just throw a game on and it would be entertaining to watch in the New York market. So if they could get it together, it'd be nice. But we go to the Panthers at number 6, and this is where the quarterback conversation starts a little bit. Sam, I know you mentioned some possibilities of things going on here. Is this the Malik Willis landing spot? Are they going in a different direction? Do they go defensive line? I don't think they need any wide receivers. They obviously don't need running backs. They're weirdly still in love with Sam Darnold. So do they really want that quarterback? What say you?
So this is assuming that they don't do anything with Baker Mayfield. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo makes a lot of sense either. Malik Willis, and they don't. I don't think they have much of a choice. And there's not a lot of quarterback options available. And it's interesting to me too is Joe Brady, Sam Darnold was really good for. Granted, the Panthers are the same team every year. They're good for the first 5 weeks, and then they fall off when they're a top 10 pick. But it was weird because Sam Darnold was really, really good those first 3 to 5 games. And then it makes you think part of it was it Joe Brady? Is Joe Brady an overrated offensive coordinator that just thrived off the 2019 LSU offense with Joe Burrow? And that's really made me ask that question to myself a couple times. But I don't think the Panthers have much of a choice here. Malik Willis, I think if Charles Cross is on the board, if the Giants go and take a guy like Kyle Hamilton at 5, kind of wait for an O-line at 7, I think if Charles Cross is there, it's a possibility. But I think Willis is the option here. I also think that this is a good opportunity for them to sit and wait for offers and to trade out for more picks. And I also think the Atlanta Falcons sit in a really, really good position to do that too, especially if you think about it. There's a team will trade up for either a quarterback, which we've seen a lot. The Bears threw the bag for Justin Fields, and I think Justin Fields is fine. Don't love the Eberflus hire. I don't like defensive-minded coaches getting jobs because they don't hire the right OCs. But Malik Willis.
I agree. Sam, let me tell you something. I agree with you. For the I think we went over this, CJ. We've said it before. I think every team that won their division this year, besides the Bills, had an offensive coach. I mean, this is what we live in now. This is not, 20 years ago where only defense wins championships. Grind it out. It helps you get to a championship, but there's a whole lot of offense going on in the world right now. I mean, it's impossible to, tackle anybody because, you can't hit them high. You hit them too low, then you're a bad guy. Wide receivers over the middle aren't getting, absolutely murdered anymore. So you're protecting the quarterbacks. I agree. I think if Bill retired right now, I would want an offensive coach immediately.
I think Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles is gonna be fine.
What do you have, Brady?
Because he has not just that, he has Byron Leftwich as
Byron Leftwich. Yeah.
So
this is true.
And Eberflus, that was a terrible hire. I did not like it.
Who's their OC?
Luke Getsy, Packers quarterback, passing and corner, has potential, but you bring in a guy that hasn't called plays before. And, it's very likely if they went to brought in Getsy, he would be the Packers OC, and he would have been able to call plays. Actually, no, he wouldn't because Matt LaFleur is the coach. So, but there's a trend. Vic Fangio, that was weird because Pat Sherman was a really good OC. Mike Zimmer, Joe Judge. There's more.
It's a lot of guys.
There's more. Robert Sala's up in the air right now. I don't think Dennis Allen lasts a lot that long. But yeah, I'm not a huge. Used to be big on Pete Carmichael, but he's kind of fallen off a bit over the past couple of years.
CJ,
I see I see quarterback. I think a lot of people are talking about Pickett. I think it's too high. They're just mentioning the fact that Matt Rule recruited him, at Temple, for him to go to Temple. When he was a younger guy, so they're trying to connect those dots. But I just think it's too high for a guy like Pickett. I think Malik Willis would be great. Sit for a year, sit behind a guy like Sam Darnold, learn the offense. He's still raw, in my opinion. He has the athleticism and has the upside, but at Liberty he was kind of up and down. And I think a lot of people are just they're looking at the measurables, they're looking at his arm and then how well he performed in the combine and in his pro day. But to say he's ready right now, it's a little premature. So you get him right now at 6, have him sit for a year, learn the offense, and let Sam take all the hits and all the blame for the season. And then moving forward, you got your guy. But Dave Tepper, he's an impatient owner. So that's the word out about him, and he wants to win now. So I could definitely see them trading back, like Sam talked about, or getting a younger guy for the future.
We go back to the Giants at 7, and I think you both agreed, offensive line first with that 5th pick. A lot of mock drafts I'm seeing, they go to the corner position here. Is this a factual statement? Am I stupid? Well, I am. But CJ, is that what we're feeling here? Is this where the LSU corner comes off the board?
Yeah. A lot of people have Stingley Jr. going 7. Wink Martindale just became the DC of the Giants after leaving Baltimore for all those years. Again, like I said, he was really like a top 3 pick in preseason before the college season started. So he had some injuries. I think it was a foot that he had in LSU, but he's an excellent corner. A lot of upside, great ball skills. I think this is the right move for them at 7.
It's weird because they're saying Derek Stingley is rising draft boards. I think you need to rephrase that too. He's just going right back up to where he was.
Yeah, exactly.
So I never understood why he fell, but it's like falling, yes, out of the top 10, a little bit. No. Corner I can see, but I can totally see this being best player available. To me, that's going to be Kyle Hamilton. I think Kyle Hamilton is one of those generational guys. Extremely versatile, extremely athletic. And like I said earlier, I don't recall what his 40 was, but I know his 40 was He plays faster than his 40, and I think people are way over exaggerating. Like my friend was just telling me the other day, like I don't understand why Evan Neal and Kyle Hamilton are people have been falling out of the top 8. I completely agree. I think Kayvon Thibodeau makes sense, but I think they can wait for an edge, especially with the depth of this class. I think this pick has to be secondary. I can see corner. The Giants are also a team where if you're picking 7 and you have Kyle Hamilton on the board, it would just be hard for me to have him just pass up on Kyle Hamilton.
All right, we move on. Let me go to the next beautiful picture. Seahawks. Oh, we're not moving on. I forgot all about the Falcons. See, forgot all about them. Listen, is this? I wonder if they go wide receiver here, only because obviously we know Julio's not there. Been a while. We know that Calvin can't stop betting on himself, and I wonder if they look for a year replacement, but also a partner for him when he comes back. Listen, their quarterback right now was also Marcus Mariota. So, do they accept that and try again next year? Do they try for a quarterback here? Sam, what do we think?
I would just like to say that if Cooper Rush and Mitchell Trubisky can get new starting jobs, then Marcus Mariota can get a starting job. Now, if Marcus Mariota, there's multiple other names. I could name you so many other names. If Taylor Heineke can get a starting job, Marcus Mariota, so many names that I can list so much for you. And I don't have the time to. But I'll say this, because I've been a big advocate for Marcus Mariota, because he's been an extremely, you could argue, one of, if not the most reliable backup in the league for Derek Carr last year. Even a game or two the past couple of years, season was a Monday night game. I think it was a Monday night game. Completely just went off.
Against the Chargers, I think. That game against the Chargers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, if he craps the bed these 2 years, even this year, I will stop. I will never talk about Marcus Mariota getting a starting job again. He's a career backup. He deserves another chance. And I think they're not taking a quarterback. I think the Falcons sit in a decent place to trade down. But I can see wide receiver. And if that's the case, I think they would go a guy like Garrett Wilson. I think Sauce goes here. I think a secondary, AJ Terrell.
Oh, AJ Terrell and Sauce. Oh my God.
AJ Terrell and Sauce. AJ Terrell had an rookie year. AJ Terrell had a really solid sophomore leap.
Yeah.
And they have no depth at all. And a guy in the second round I really want to see them grab, and I don't really know why no one's talking about him. They need Isaiah Spiller. But we can talk about that another day. But I want them to get a guy like Isaiah Spiller. But I think a receiver would make sense. I really only see the Falcons being the team that would actually pull the trigger on that. I don't know if the Jets would. But I've got Sauce here.
Yeah, if he's not taken already, I think Sauce would be a great pairing with Terrell. They need a lot of help also. They're definitely a rebuilding team. They just got rid of Matt Ryan for a 3rd round pick. So they're definitely transitioning into a rebuild. So you get a corner. That division also has some pretty good wide receivers. So, the more corners, the better. You could go wide receiver also. We don't know the future of Calvin Ridley in Atlanta. Even after this season, we don't know what's going to happen with him. And, you get a guy like Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, pair him up with Kyle Pitts. That's a pretty nice 1-2 punch there as your offensive weapons. And then for Mariota, who I think, he definitely deserves another shot. Another name that you can mention is Jameis. Jameis got a second chance over there in New Orleans. So why the same draft class, ironically. So I think he should get a shot. He's a dual threat. When he's durable, he can definitely make some plays with his feet, with his arm as well. Arthur Smith likes to run the football anyway, so I think it's a nice fit. I can see them going if Sauce is not there, definitely see them going wide receiver and get a dynamic guy on the outside.
I wouldn't mind it. Man, I'm thinking, draft a little wide receiver here, let Calvin come back, and then you pair him up with Pitts as well. But then again, another corner with Terrell would also be just wonderful. A lot of places you can go. That's why it's a draft. A lot of decisions to be made. That's why I'm not getting paid to do it. That, and plus I probably couldn't name anybody past that point, so I wouldn't be very good at my own job. The Seahawks sit at number 9. Listen, they traded away, obviously, their franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thinks that Drew Lock is the answer there. Funny enough, I still don't think this is a quarterback spot. I think that they're just going to be awful this year, try to get Bryce Young next year, or whoever the best quarterback is going to be coming out of that draft. This is just a team that I'll let you guys talk because I have no idea. You need offensive linemen, you need corners, they need a wide receiver because are they going to keep DK? Like, that's another situation that's kind of up in the air a little bit. But CJ, if you're drafting for the Seahawks, where do you even begin?
If Thibodeau falls to 9, which I'll be shocked, that'd be a great spot for Seattle. Getting an edge rusher, yeah, like you said, they're starting fresh. Yeah, they're high on Drew Lock. I mean, I feel like they just have to say that at this point to their fan base to calm
trying to sell those season tickets.
Yeah, whoever's going to buy them with that guy in the center. But DK's there, Tyler Lockett. They really don't need a wide receiver right now. I just don't think that's the right fit. But yeah, if Thibodeau's there and he slips to 9, I think that's a steal in my opinion. A lot of upside, could get to the quarterback. And as another guy, him and Stingley, they were the 1 and 2 guys before the season started. So if you get him at 9, I think it's a great spot for Seattle.
I don't think DK leaves. I think if DK wants to get paid, I think Seattle's his best option to get paid. I completely agree, and I think this is going to turn into a best player available. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to fall a little bit. Still in the top 10. I'd be completely shocked if he's out of the top 10. But top 5, I can definitely see. I think Trayvon Walker is going to be taken for him. But I completely agree, especially because, if you really think about it, they didn't need Jamal Adams. There was nothing wrong with, Bradley McDougald. Now, one trade that did work out for them, they just extended, I think it was, 2 years? Carlos Dunlap.
Yeah,
Carlos Dunlap, and it showed very quickly. And they reached for LJ Collier, and now he's either a trade or cut candidate now. So you bring in Kayvon Thibodeau and you have Carlos Dunlap on the other side. That is a very underrated pass rushing duo.
Yes.
Okay. We were kind of split a little bit. If the Jets go with I can't tackle or offensive lineman or corner or safety, whatever it is, depending on what you guys said, this can change. But what do you think we're doing at 10, Sam?
I think Stingley's going here. I think Stingley goes here, and I think this is also an opportunity where the Vikings maybe trade up for a guy like Stingley and Sauce because they don't have much of a choice. They brought back Patrick Peterson. He's washed. He's well past his prime, but Patrick Peterson's also another, defensive guy. It's a nice veteran piece that you want in your room. But they don't have, Jeff Gladney's gone. Mike Hughes is gone. I was excited for Mike Hughes too. And, I always thought Mike Hughes deserved that chance. And, when he was given the opportunity, he got torched in Kansas City a lot as well. But I'm going Derek Stingley here. And like I said, Derek Stingley's not soaring up draft boards. He's going right back to where he was. Now, I can see him falling out of the top 5. I would be shocked if the Jets don't take him, if he's there past 10. So I think this is definitely an opportunity where you see a team like the Minnesota Vikings who sit 2 spots ahead of them in 12 trade up for a guy like Stingley or Sauce.
Yeah, if those guys are there, you got to take a corner. Robert Salah, still a defensive-minded guy. I just think it makes the most sense. They're the two most versatile corners in the draft. Yeah, tackle. Yeah, get your tackle with the first pick, and then I wouldn't get I don't feel like they. I mean, Deebo would help them, obviously, but the amount of assets you'd have to give up when you're a rebuilding team, I just don't feel like it makes the most sense for them right now. I just feel like they need to build through the draft and develop a nice culture identity. And then maybe in a year or so, if you feel like there's a piece that could get you over the hump after you see how they play, then you could bring them in. But right now, yes, build with the draft. Don't move this pick and get a guy like Stingley or Sauce if they're there.
Listen, number 11, I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe it will. I want Washington to take a wide receiver so bad. So bad. Pair somebody with Scary Terry. You got Wensington, D.C. running the show.
Oh, that's such a bad nickname, bro.
No, it's Wensington, D.C. Wentz VP, as I've called him before. You pair somebody with Scary Terry. You got I can't think of his name now. He was on the Panthers.
Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel, your little bit of your gadget guy, a little. Gibson's still there. You got a ferocious D-line, especially with Chase Young coming back. I like a wide receiver here so much. I do. CJ?
Yeah, they could go wide receiver. I saw some mocks. They had Kyle Hamilton as low as here a little bit, which is crazy. I think that's just because of what Sam was talking about with the 40 time. If he's there, Ron Rivera, again, defensive guy, I think that makes the most sense. I believe they cut Landon Collins.
They did. Yep.
Yeah, they cut him. So I think that there's definitely a need there for safety, and he plays that box safety very well. Great ball skills, a lot of upside. He was phenomenal at Notre Dame. He was their best player in my opinion. So if they could get him at 11, that's great. Wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, you could get a guy like Drake London, big body guy, possession guy here at 11. Right now, he's the touted, best receiver in the draft, or the number one guy. Him and Garrett Wilson are 1 and 2. But I think defense, if those guys, one of those two, maybe if Stingley, because we all know like a couple of these guys, they drop when we get shocked when they're like, oh wow, he fell. So we could see a possibility of Kyle being there, and if he is there, I would take him. And if not, yeah, I would take a big body guy, possession guy to complement Terry McLaurin there and Drake London from USC.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't sleep on the receiver. I'm going to stay offense. I'm going to go Kenyon Green, the guard from Texas A&M. Especially the fact that Antonio Gibson was good his first year. Last year he was very streaky, and a lot of that was because of those interior holes on the interior offensive line. So I've seen Kenyon Green fluctuate a lot, and if Kenyon Green is there at 22, if I were the Packers, I would not hesitate, and I'd take him. You have Elton. I think they're going to keep Elton Jenkins. I'm not worried about that, but I guess if you want to talk about that, Elton Jenkins is done in a year. He was a second round guy. He doesn't have that 5th year option, and if they don't take a guard early, that tells me they're trying to get John Runyan and Royce Newman, which I guess isn't bad competition, but I don't see him taking a guard. I want Jamari Salyer in the second, but I think they're going Kenyon Green at 11 here.
I don't want to see a receiver so bad. So bad. Scary Terry and somebody, please. Just give him somebody so he's not double coverage and making crazy plays along the sideline. Minnesota.
They're hoping that Curtis Samuel is a guy that can take away.
You're not wrong.
Take away some of those double teams. If he can stay healthy, that's obviously the big question.
Minnesota's at 12. Obviously, they're pretty set on the offensive side. You got one of the best receivers in football and Justin Jefferson there. You got Dalvin Cook as your running back, mid Cousins over there. I would imagine this is defense somewhere in the secondary, CJ.
Yeah, we got Trent McDuffie. Could be an option there. Option there at 11. Aaron Rodgers still in that division. Say what you want about whatever, but he's still a problem in the NFC South. And the more guys that you could get that could try to create turnovers over there, I think it's the best option. It's like 5'11", 6 foot, so he's pretty tall for his position. And again, Stingley and Sauce will probably be gone by the time Minnesota's on the clock. So I think that's the best move for them. They don't need to go offense. They're already good at that position. Kevin O'Connell is, I believe, the head coach. So, he's an offensive guy, so it could try to shore up that O-line maybe. But I think defense is probably the best fit for them, and taking a guy like McDuffie.
I agree. I'm going to stay with that position, but I'm going to go Andrew Booth from Clemson. I think Andrew Booth is just a little bit more athletic than Trent McDuffie. He's lengthy, and I have him as the third best corner off the board behind Stingley and Sauce. But I think you could see edge here. But again, this is a deep secondary class, but an even deeper edge rusher class. So I think Minnesota is going to sit here, and they're not going to have a choice. If Sauce and Stingley are there, if they don't feel Booth is, they feel Booth is too rich for them at 12, you trade down a bit. Maybe a team trades up for Garrett Wilson. I can see receiver just because Adam Thielen is getting up there in age, but
true.
They're not gonna. I don't think they would take a receiver in the first round. Yeah, I would argue first 2 rounds.
Texans. We've said that they need a lot. I'd be lying if I remember what you guys said that they were going to do earlier in their pick. So, CJ, we're going at 13 here. Where are we going on this one? Still obviously need some help on defense. Probably need some help on offense along the line. Skill position players. Does a little run on wide receiver start here maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I think Drake London or Olave might be there at 13. Brandon Cooks is getting kind of up there in age. It's nice to have a young wide receiver next to a guy like Davis Mills, who played all right, played pretty well last year. I mean, granted the circumstances that he was given, it's the Texans. The offensive line was putrid. I go back to that Patriot game where he definitely had a really solid game in that first half. He's athletic too. He can move around and run out the pocket and all play action.
Everything with that long neck.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely a trait, I guess. But yeah, he has he have some upside. Again, I know we just talked about how you should pair up offensive head coaches with young quarterbacks. That's not the case right now in Houston. But I think Lovie Smith is a stopgap coach. Unfortunately, that's how I see it. And if Davis Mills, build around him, and what makes what could make a great young quarterback better is getting a good wide receiver. And you got Olave there, speedy guy, ran sub 4.3 and at the combine. He's a guy that could take the top off the defense. I think that's a good fit for them.
Yeah, I like the receiver. I'm going to stay offense, and I'm going Zion Johnson, guard tackle from Boston College. They're going to give Davis Mills a shot. And, just like you said, CJ, about, giving him weapons to throw to, why not give him more protection on that front line? I'm not really sure what the Texans are doing with their running back room. They're trying to get 5 guys at once. I don't know. I thought David Johnson was just fine there, especially if he could stay healthy. They just went out and signed. They just went out and got someone else. I don't remember who it was, but within the past month or two. But I've got Zion Johnson here. I can definitely see receiver. Especially last year too. Low key, the Texans drafted pretty well last year. They've got a pretty decent front. Honestly, sure, I Lovie Smith. I'm not a fan of one and done coaches. He might be a one and done guy. But the Texans have a lot of draft capital, and I think the Texans are very slowly starting to flip and go into the right direction. But I've got Zion Johnson. Kind of very similar reason to what CJ said. Give him more weapons. Why not try to give Davis Mills more protection? They just extended Brandon Cooks, and sure, if he doesn't get those concussions, he's injury prone, but he's also a very underappreciated wide receiver. But as is Jarvis Landry. So yeah.
14 Ravens. Like I said, that run on wide receiver has to continue here. I don't see any other thing. We know they're set at quarterback. Their defense is very solid. Offensive line is pretty good. That's the position that they've struggled at. Obviously, Hollywood isn't exactly living up to his cousin in Antonio Brown. There have been talks of Antonio maybe going there. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would ever sign him ever again, but that's a different day. I feel like you got to go receiver here. I mean, they were 8-0, I believe, before. Literally, they had to build a hospital next to the stadium for everybody to get into after each game. So, I think if you fix that position, they're even better than they were before, CJ.
Obviously, that I've been harping on the Ravens getting a guy at wide receiver for the longest. I just feel like Lamar's never really had that number one guy. I mean, Mark Andrews is number one tight end, but in terms of on the outside XY position, just never had that guy. Unlike we saw with these other younger quarterbacks in the NFL. So yeah, Olave, London, maybe. I know he's coming off the ACL. I think Jameson Williams would be. Oh man, just imagine the speed out there with that offense with him and Lamar, with the RPOs and the type of things they would create, knowing that they like to run the football and how they're getting both of their running backs back, and then J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. They could also go offensive line too. They could go Tyler Lindenbaum from Iowa. They could get a center and clear up and get some stay committed to what they do. They want to run the football. They want to make it tough on defenses, tire them out into the fourth quarter. Control the clock. So I can see them getting a guy from Iowa. Or selfishly, I want to see them get Jameson Williams. Hopefully he can get healthy probably by maybe week 7, week 8. He's coming off an ACL. Those things are tricky. But if they get him, man, that offense would be so dynamic for the Ravens. And they're going to need it because we know what's going on. The Bengals are just hosting the AFC, they're AFC champs. So we saw the type of weapons they have, so they got to be able to match that if they want to win that division and contend in the AFC.
It's tough because the Ravens have a good wide receiver room, but their problem is they can't stay healthy. And Marquise Brown, obviously we've talked about that. Rashad Bateman, Rashad Bateman missed a lot of his rookie year. Tylan Wallace had injury issues throughout his career in college. Devin Duvernay, I think he's kind of shown to be a little bit more productive in the special teams area as a return man, a little bit more than there. So, they have the depth. It's just their problem is they can't stay healthy. But
did they sign Watkins, or was that a different team?
My Packers signed Walker.
Oh, yeah, it was your boy. Yeah, you're right.
There was a certain player that you left on the board. He goes by the name of Jordan Davis. They, like I mentioned about Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis, the coaching of not just Dan Lanning, but the rest of that defensive line staff, 350 plus pound guys, and he was like 40s, like not just Jordan Davis. I should have pulled this up, but Devontae Wyatt's 40 was incredible too. Like I think both of those guys are going in the first round, but I think this could be a best player available situation for them. And, Jordan Davis, I should say Wyatt too, but Jordan Davis plays like he's lighter.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even know he was that. I didn't know he was that
Heisman votes. Like he was like top 10 in Heisman. You don't see that as much, and you don't see that in defensive players. I think this is Jordan Davis. I think it makes too much sense here, but yeah.
Yeah, I can see that too. I think Calais Campbell re-signed. But he's getting up. He's getting up there.
He's getting up there. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's a great spot. That man. Yeah. If I'm Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow, and I'm seeing that guy in the interior gaps, that's
the other thing, right? You just said Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow. Like obviously we don't really know the future of the Steelers room, but Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow. I think a lot of I think. Teams like the Ravens and the Steelers, they're going to continue to build their pass rushing core to get to those quarterbacks. So I love this pick as well.
We go on to the Eagles at 15. I mean, I think maybe a wide receiver makes sense here. I could also see them going along the D line. I know that they originally had released Fletcher Cox. They ended up re-signing him to kind of help with the cap space there. He's also getting up there. They go along the D line, and we've obviously known for years. This is kind of like a Giant situation, but on a different position. They have no idea what a linebacker even is. They don't even know what one looks like. If Bobby Wagner slapped him in the face, they still wouldn't know what position he plays. So where do we go here at 15, Sam?
It's crazy because Howie Roseman is a very weird GM.
Very strange.
He drafts very strange, but everything else he does is incredible. Like what he's flipped for like all of these picks is just it's incredible. Like he flips Carson Wentz and all of a sudden gets, these round like big names and high round picks. I think a receiver's going here. I don't think Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave go here. I think the Eagles have done their share of, drafting small receivers. They need big bodied guys. I think this is where Burks or London goes. And I think this is where Drake London goes. People weren't talking about him. Wow, he had the foot injury. But people raised him a bit higher than Traylon Burks because Traylon Burks' 40 was slow. But then again, Traylon Burks is a big bodied receiver. You're not gonna get this elite. You're not gonna get this elite sub. Like I think it was at 4.8 or something, somewhere around there. Like you're not gonna get. I mean, I was surprised just how low it was, but you're not going to get this elite time out of a big body receiver. And this the biggest thing I look for, in a receiver. You guys had mentioned Jameson Williams. The yak ability. What he's able to do after the catch. Sure, Traylon Burks might not have the that speed to create the separation, but what he's able to do in his physicality after the catch is I think teams are going to fall in love with. But he's AJ Brown 2.0. But I think Drake London goes here. I think you can kind of go either way, but I think a big bodied receiver has to go here, especially because you got Devontae Smith. And
right,
I know it's been 1 year, but I wasn't huge on Devontae Smith. People knocked him because of his weight. And there's another receiver that I have going a little bit smaller in the later round that I'll get to. But Jalen Reagor, he might get cut. So
for sure,
and
I'd be shocked.
Right, it's weird because Hakeem Butler, guy with high hopes, comes to Philly, switches to tight end. You know who else just switched to tight end?
Arcega-Whiteside.
AJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Did he?
So
yeah.
Greg Ward, sure. Like Greg Ward's a nice depth piece to have. Jalen Reagor might be cut, and Drake London comes in. He immediately, when he starts over Devontae Smith. He's the number one option over Devontae Smith.
London?
Yes, I got Drake London.
Yeah, I agree. They flopped. So I mean, I like Smith. He's probably the only one that hasn't flopped for how when it comes to wide receivers. I mean, he's right up there with Belichick, bro. I mean, you miss out on Metcalf, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson. You take Reagor, just like Sam just said 2 years ago. You get a guy. I think Drake London is a great fit. You got the speed and possession on each side of the field. Jalen Hurts is going to have to improve as a quarterback. Makes him. We talked about this at Paramount. Doing a better job making those anticipatory throws, being a true accurate passer in the pocket, and it could help him getting the big body guy you could throw it up to, get those 50-50 footballs. A lot of people compare him to Mike Evans just because of the measurables and just how big he is in terms of like a basketball tight end type thing in the red zone. I think it's a great fit. Nick Sirianni, offensive-minded head coach. It makes the most sense. I agree.
Well, we move on to 16 with the Saints. They brought back Jameis. We'll see what Michael Thomas actually does this year if he decides to play. They still have Kamara there. Lattimore still there. I know they did lose, though. Their safeties. Is that where we're going, CJ?
They did get Marcus May.
True.
Marcus May. It's a tough spot. I mean, I see a lot of people having them take quarterback here, which is crazy to me. Again, I'm not that high on these quarterbacks this year. I don't see them really being outside of Willis. He has some upside. I like Ritter, but in terms of top 16, first half of the pick, I would go with offensive line. Continue to shore up that O line. Who's the quarterback? James is there coming off the ACL. It would just be best for them to protect him. And Alvin Kamara is there running the football. Like you said, Michael Thomas should be coming back after the ankle injury. I would go O-line here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I had Kenyon Green. I mean, you guys had receiver, I think at 11. I had Kenyon Green at 11. I think you can get a guy like Kenyon Green on the board at 16. They love their Ohio State guys. And I think this is where Garrett Wilson comes off the board. Garrett Wilson reminds me of a lot of Terry McLaurin. My cousin had this hot take, and I'm agreeing with him. I'm a big Garrett Wilson guy. I think Garrett Wilson would be better than Terry McLaurin. And it's a hot take, but another thing you mentioned, Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston's better than every single quarterback in this draft class. Let's get that out of the way. But yeah, right. This is not a strong. Little bit of an off year of quarterbacks. 2023 is where it gets really, really interesting. But I've seen Kenny Pickett here. I've seen Malik Willis. I know Mike Tomlin after his pro day. Mike Tomlin and the rest of the Steelers staff had dinner with Malik Willis. But this is where I think Garrett Wilson comes off the board. And let's say Michael Thomas doesn't play. Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 1 potential. So. But I think now that, the Saints finally could have their quarterback, I think there's a good chance that Michael Thomas, a better chance that we see him play.
Yeah.
Mr. Slant Boy on the way back. We go to the Chargers at 17. Listen, I mean, this Charger team is different in a way where I don't know who they draft because they're actually good. We were talking about the Texans, the Jets, Giants before. They need a lot of things. I mean, Chargers, they got Asante Samuel Jr., they got J.C. Jackson, then they got Keenan Allen, and they got Mike Williams. They got Austin Eckler. They have Justin Herbert. They have Joey Bosa. They have
Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack. I mean, listen, so many people got traded to remember. I don't know where they go because they have so many people. So, Sam, please relieve me of the stress.
So, I just talked about earlier with the Ravens taking Jordan Davis, and I talked about CJ had mentioned Deshaun Watson getting to Watson and getting to Joe Burrow. This division is worse. In this division, you're going to see teams stack up like that. Because every single quarterback in this is the Raiders literally just got Chandler Jones. They extended Max Crosby. I had Jordan Davis going to the Ravens. I've got the other guy going to the Chargers, Devontae Wyatt. And I think it makes too much sense. I think if Jordan Davis is on the board, I don't think the Chargers should hesitate at all, and I think they should take him. But like I said, that combine was Georgia football. It was the Georgia football show. And a guy that can move that well, a guy like Jordan Davis is very similar. A guy that can move that well at 350 plus pounds, that's incredible to me. And like you said, you mentioned all the guys that they just picked up. I believe they did lose Casey Hayward to the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
But
yeah,
replaced him with J.C. Jackson. So
right.
I think D-line makes a lot of sense here. Build that depth more. They drafted Jerry Tillery a couple of years back, who's been all right for them. But Jerry Tillery and Devontae Wyatt, that's better.
Yeah, Jordan Davis is there with Mack and Bosa. Man, I feel bad for Mahomes and Derek Carr twice a year.
Forget Russ.
Russell was Russell's a little bit more mobile, so he can run around. You try to get away from those guys, but that's gonna be a nasty defensive line if he falls to 17. for all the reasons we talked about. 341 and what he ran was a sub 4.840. Super agile young kid. Georgia, yeah, it's like Alabama a couple years ago, how they just all these guys just go in the first round. But after seeing what they did, how dominant they were in the national championship game, and defensively, all these guys are gonna be highly drafted and deservingly so. So if the Chargers could get a guy like this, D-line, everything else is pretty much as good for them. they got everything else. They got the superstar quarterback. And they got the weapons around them. So just shore up that defense and make sure you get some stops when it matters. Because there were some games where they could have used a guy in the middle to be disruptive, especially against the Chiefs. I'm thinking about that Thursday night football game. Patrick Mahomes just running around, and it's tough. It's tough. Even the game against the Raiders at the end of the season, they could have used a guy to get to the quarterback. I think that's a necessary pick for them.
We go back to the Eagles at 18. We went wide receiver, I believe. There's some things you could change up there. But I also mentioned before, and I don't know how the linebacker class is, but I still think that they need some. I mean, they don't know what one is. CJ, do they fix the problem here? Do they go somewhere else? Guide me. Be my tour guide.
Yeah, I mean, I like Nakobe Dean, another Georgia guy. I think he played really well, but I would probably go with Devin Lloyd out of Utah. Really, really great sideline to sideline, 3-down linebacker. A lot of speed. It's definitely the star of that Utah team last year. That'd be my guy. I would choose. Oh my God, my bad. Anthony Edwards said a 3. My bad. Sorry, off topic. Watching the playoffs, but yeah, I think linebacker is necessary. Getting a guy like Devin Lloyd would help them tremendously. I would go there if I'm Philadelphia with their second first round pick.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you have Devontae Wyatt or even Jordan Davis still on the board, I think Jordan Davis makes a lot of sense, especially because Anthony, you just mentioned a while ago, they were initially supposed to cut Fletcher Cox and they brought him back. I think another kind of pick that should be considered is offensive line, as well as corner. But I agree. I think linebacker has to be the spot here. And it has to be early. I think they can wait for a linebacker until the second first-round pick here. I like Nakobe Dean, but the problem with Eagles linebackers is they're always undersized. And I love Nakobe Dean. I think his size is going to drop him just a little bit, but his athleticism is going to overlook a lot. It's going to get overlooked a lot. And I'm not really sure why he's falling out of the first. I get why he's falling, but as far as out of the first, especially if it goes to a team like Detroit, but I think Devin Lloyd makes more sense here too, because, like I said, I mean, they've had rotational guys. They've had guys that can be rotational linebackers. If you really think about it, they haven't had a guy since they had Jordan Hicks for a while. They had Nigel Bradham for a while. It's been years. T.J. Edwards, former Badger, but T.J. Edwards is not a linebacker one. And Nakobe Dean, I don't think that makes a ton of sense just because of the size, and they've already had a trend of drafting undersized linebackers, and especially if you get a guy like Devin Lloyd, I think that would be he's my linebacker too. I think Nakobe Dean's just a tad better, but I think Devin Lloyd's a better fit than Nakobe Dean in Philly.
Man, John Morant, special.
All right, CJ, I was going to say before you go, I know you just saw that. I had a little reaction while Sam was talking because I just put it on as well after you said the Anthony Edwards thing. I put it on. Winner.
It's a great series. Man.
That Mavs Jazz game was bad last
time. Oh yeah, that was
time to trade Donovan Mitchell and blow that team up. That was
get Donovan Mitchell up out of there.
That was really bad.
CJ, did you give your pick? I don't know. I forgot.
Yeah, you said
yes.
Lloyd.
Yes, I said Lloyd.
Yep. Look at this. Oh, I'm all distracted. I got the Yankees hitting home runs. I got Ja doing things. 3 home run night by Anthony Rizzo, by the way. A little home run by Aaron Judge, too, on his birthday.
Willie Adames had himself a dinger as well. I got Giancarlo Stanton on my fantasy baseball team. So
I hate to break it to you, Sam. They took him out of the game for Tim LaCastro.
Was he hurt?
No. Just they were up 10-3, And I believe they thought the game was over. It's now 12-8, by the way. So it got a little interesting. But he did. He had an RBI and a single, so you're good. You're good. All those fantasy points going straight to you.
Correct. My starting rotation went off last night, so
you know what? That's what we love to see. We're at the Saints. I believe are we? Oh yeah, we are. We're at the Saints. I don't know who I left off with, so I'll go with you, CJ. What are we doing here, huh?
Yeah, I like wide receiver here as well. I think again we don't know the status of Michael Thomas right now. It's just it's no stories, there's no drama around him, which is good. So it just tells me that he's going to be there next year. Jameson Williams is probably going to fall because of the ACL. I feel like he'd definitely be drafted already. If probably a top 15 pick had he not got hurt for the year he had at Alabama. I like wide receiver for New Orleans, or they could go. I think I said O-line for their first pick, so I would say wide receiver for this one, or they could, Dennis Allen, defensive guy. They could definitely go defense and shore up that side of the football. Also,
yeah, we're gonna kind of flip flop here. I had receiver Garrett Wilson at was it
16? Yeah.
I got a lineman here. I got Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan. You don't know the future of Winston, but Winston's better. Winston's safe for a year, at least a year, 2-year contract. But why not give him more protection? You had mentioned all your reasons for O-line in that previous pick, and you're right. Kamara was very well, but if they don't shore up that line, you're not going to see many, prime elite years out of Alvin Kamara before he starts becoming talked about for trades like Christian McCaffrey is. So I've got Bernard Raymond. I think they're going to take the best lineman available, and then there's a good chance that you might see, a guy like Kenyon Green. I think would make a lot of sense too, especially because you have a highly elite top 5 running back in Alvin Kamara, so he can get a guard here. But I like Bernard Raymond here.
Listen, we have Peyton's Places on ESPN Plus. Are we going to change it to Pickett's Place over in Pittsburgh?
No.
No? Sam, I need an explanation then.
Well, you had Malik. Oh, I had Malik Willis at 6. So I think if the Steelers don't get Malik Willis, they're not going to take him. They're going to have to trade up for Willis. But no, I don't think so. I think they should have traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. That's one team I thought would have made a lot of sense for Jimmy Garoppolo. Even Tampa Bay. I think Tampa should go after Baker Mayfield. We just talked about this guy. I think if this guy doesn't go to the Steelers, I don't think he's going in the first round. Tyler Linderbaum. And the problem is Tyler, he's extremely versatile. Teams are going to draft him as a center, but, they're not going to overlook the fact that he's very capable playing guard. But Tyler Linderbaum is also probably the best center prospect we've had in a very, very long time. His athleticism and he's a big, very, very productive in the run game. Very productive in the run game. Very, very good hip mobility. His ability to turn guys with ease. I like Linderbaum a lot here, especially because the offensive line, sure, Najee was one of those match made in heaven picks. Obviously it's, going to prove them wrong. I think Najee's a very, very talented guy. He was even highly touted out of high school. It was between Alabama and Michigan. So, but they should have went tackle in the first round last year. I think this is the year where they're going to go offensive line in the first round.
Yeah, I think Lindenbaum's a good fit. They lost Pouncey, 2 years ago now. I think it'd be 2 years. Retired. So, they need offensive line help so bad. Even though Ben had the noodle arm, but just the protection just wasn't there. And since they're not going to have a great quarterback like the other 2 teams in the AFC North, or other 3 teams in the AFC North, I would just continue to give that ball to Najee Harris, man. Run the football, be physical up front. I think Linderbaum is a great fit. Sam talked about the dinner that Mike Tomlin had with Malik Willis. That could be an option. I think if Baker's cut, to me, that seems like a good move also. To me, he's still a starting quarterback in the NFL. So I would look at that if I'm Pittsburgh. Garoppolo, I don't know what San Fran's asking. Maybe like have you heard anything second? Maybe something like second or third.
Like, I don't know if this was just a rumor or just like some random thing, because there was a team. This is before Matt Ryan got traded to the Colts. That's why I think it was, because there was supposedly a team that offered him the Niners a second-round pick for Jim. Like, are you kidding me? Like, did you just not accept that? I would have taken a second round. I wouldn't have hesitated at that. So I don't think you're going to get a second. But Jimmy G is also I don't think he's good at all. But he was also
at least we can agree on that, Sam.
Well, okay,
I'm out on Jimmy.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G was a very good reason, like a very big factor of why the Niners made the playoffs. Yes, the Niners got lucky in the first place, but once he stepped foot in the playoffs, he was garbage. Yep. But Jimmy G is also a very good bridge quarterback to a future franchise guy. But yeah, and he's going to be a career backup. My friend and I were just talking about this the other day because he brought up Tyler Huntley. I'm surprised the Ravens aren't even shopping Tyler Huntley right now. But I think you're slowly starting to see a trend of teams have good backup quarterbacks. And if Jimmy Garoppolo is not a guy that can lead you to the Super Bowl. And I want to hear that Jimmy Garoppolo took him to the Super Bowl. Nick Bosa took them to the Super Bowl. If they didn't have Nick Bosa, they wouldn't be in the Super Bowl. So, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo can be a very reliable backup QB2. But I think he's staying in San Francisco. I don't think he moves.
God, I feel like it's so awkward.
Well,
it's looking that way. Yeah.
Did you see what John Lynch said about Deebo too?
Yeah, he said he couldn't
basically
imagine.
Made it sound like that he didn't want to move him. So and especially if you have a GM saying that too, it seems very likely that he could stay. Like, that's why I said if they want to trade Deebo, they need to trade him before the draft.
Yeah.
So who knows?
They have to. I mean, it's like I saw the video. He was at the club and it was like Deebo's staying with the 49ers and they put the camera on him. He was like, no way.
Yeah.
No way. So I don't even.
Well, so what I read too is he doesn't want to be a hybrid guy.
Okay.
He doesn't want to be a hybrid guy. So he basically doesn't want to be a Cordell Patterson.
Which is very weird to me because he started the whole wide back thing. This man has merch of the wide back stuff.
It's weird too because the Niners don't know how to use running backs. Like, they keep building, they've not had a good running back since Frank Gore.
No,
and I'm very
upset. They use 6 a year.
Huh?
They just use 6 different ones a
year.
Right.
Yeah, they go through Trey Sermon, who I love Trey Sermon. And as a fantasy owner, I love Trey Sermon. And I honestly thought that he was going to be their guy. Who knows? Because I don't think I don't think Ohio State fully unlocked his potential. Elijah Mitchell here and there. Raheem Mostert, but he's in Miami.
Yeah.
They
had Breida for a little bit.
Huh?
They had Matt Breida for a little bit.
They had Matt Breida. They had Tevin Coleman. They had was that just Jeff Wilson for a bit?
Jeff Wilson, yeah.
I think he's gone now too. They only got him for a year, but it's weird because they just load up their running backs and they're all good for 2 or 3 games a year, and then they can't stay healthy. So, it's weird. I understand why he doesn't want to be a hybrid guy because if you really think about it, he wants to be paid as a receiver.
Oh, yes.
For a hybrid guy, you're not going to get as much money as being paid as a big elite top receiver. So I get it from his perspective, but the fit in his team, I don't know why he wouldn't want to be a hybrid guy with the Niners. I don't think Deebo is making a good decision. I think the Niners I think they need to pay him.
I think a great decision would be for the Pats at number 21 to pick up that phone. But hey, listen, San Francisco. Just saying, we'd like to make a phone call. We heard Deebo's a little salty over there. We can bring him on over to New England. Little clam chowder. Little, calm him down a little bit. But CJ, I would then, like I've said before, wake up from my dream and realize that the Patriots are probably going to pick somebody from Northern Kentucky out of, some like I don't even know. I don't know. But CJ, who are we? Because these next two picks are near and dear to everybody's hearts here. Patriots for me and CJ. Got the Packers for Sam. But 21, CJ, how many tears do we shed on draft night?
If they go defense, I wouldn't be mad again. Like a guy like Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd. I feel like we need an inside linebacker. Kyle Van Noy, Dante Hightower, too slow last year. Could not go sideline to sideline. We need speed. We need speed on that side. I know they drafted Cam LeGrone from Michigan last year. He was kind of had a redshirt year. He's a speedy guy. He had tore his ACL, so he really didn't see the field often. But I think Bills expected him to step up and have a role. Didn't see Ronnie Perkins out of Oklahoma last year either. So hopefully he could get into that rotation on the defensive line for New England.
Winovich too, so I think you might see more of Ronnie Perkins.
Right, with Chase Winovich, and I think he's with the Browns now.
Hey, little football news, by the way, just randomly, Melvin Gordon re-signed with the Broncos.
Did he?
It's a good fit. Him and Javonte.
Yeah, just now. Rappaport just tweeted it out.
Him and Williams, it's a good 1-2 punch over there. But yeah, I think Dean or Devin Lloyd, if they're there, that's a good spot. Corner, it's possible to. I mean, we need a number one guy. J.C. Jackson's in Los Angeles now. That would definitely help us. And at first, before the Devontae Parker trade, obviously receiver was number one on my on my list because we need a guy next to Mac. But Devontae's all right. Hasn't really been healthy. He showed flashes here and there. He seems to always play well against New England, but now he's on the Patriots, so we'll see how he plays as a Pat. But I would say defense here. We need speed at that linebacker position, man, especially with these mobile quarterbacks who like do RPOs and run around. We need sideline to sideline guys. So I would go with Devin Lloyd or Dean if they're there.
I'm going to stay defense. You just lost J.C. Jackson. I think you got to replace him here. I'm going Trent McDuffie. I think CJ, I think you had him a little bit earlier here.
A little bit higher, yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to go. Corner here. I think Trent McDuffie makes a lot of sense. Either Washington corner. Obviously Kevin King. Other than Kevin King, but Kevin King was also a very good player out of college.
He was.
You talk about the secondary coach over at Washington, Kyler Gordon, Elijah Molden, Sidney Jones, Kevin King, Trent McDuffie. The development of them, now it's just translating to the next level and the pure athleticism. So I think it has to happen. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dante Howard might be a free agent too. I think
Hightower, yes.
Yeah, he's a free agent. But I like this linebacker class, but I really only see Lloyd and Dean only going in the first, and I don't just because Hightower's a big guy. A big-bodied guy, and the Patriots, he was able to last very, very long with the Patriots. So I think they can do very well getting a guy like, a Brandon Smith or a Christian Harris in the second, or even an athletic freak like Leo Chenal. So I think they can wait in the second, or Chad Muma. I think they're going to have a lot of options day two to take a linebacker, but not a bad pick. But I like corner. I think corner has to happen, but. Receiver, the last receiver they took was N'Keal Harry. The first.
Don't remind me. Do me a favor. Don't remind me.
But yeah.
Please, no. We're good. Unless it's Jameson drops, I'm all for it. But other than that, nah, man.
Well, Sam, I started with me and CJ when it came to the Pats, and it's only right to have you start with the Packers. Go Pack, go at number 22.
So this is my friend and I have been talking about this too. This is totally a pick where I could totally see them going best player available. And I have two options, and none of them are receiver. One of them's edge, but I think they can wait a bit. My first pick was Jermaine Johnson from Florida State. I'm going Michigan's Daxton Hill here. And, Darnell Savage, free agent next year. He was not a first round. Oh, he was. Well, I think he got the 5th year. But Adrian Amos, he's up after next year. And, there's Darnell Savage was a first round pick. They've got the 5th year option. I don't think he's a lock to stay. I don't think they keep both. I think they lose one. And, if there's one thing, I really like what Michigan's done with their secondary. We talk about there's Vincent Gray this year. I think they've got Brian Dawkins. I was telling Caleb last year I was a big Ambry Thomas fan. And I think he was a 5th round pick. I was very surprised to see him fall out of the first 3 rounds. Super athletic. I always thought he had the starting potential. He started a couple games for the Niners, ended up doing that as well. So I like Daxton Hill. He's my safety too. I like Brisker, but I think Daxton Hill's a little bit more, athletic than he is. Obviously they're going to get Kyle Hamilton, but I think Daxton Hill makes so much sense here. I think you can line him up on multiple areas of the secondary. Extremely athletic, extremely versatile. So I've got Daxton Hill here from Michigan.
Now CJ's gone for a quick second, so I'll go back and forth with you. Now, you trade away, Mr. Devontae Adams. I think a lot of people outside of the Packer fan base, and I mean probably a lot of people inside the Packer fan base, immediately go, "Well, we got to replace him." You said your first 2 weren't even wide receiver. Is it because you think that they can just find one later? Is it because of a different reason? Can you walk me through that one?
I think they can wait. I think 28, I got a receiver. And, I mentioned him before we went on air here, and I don't want you to say it yet, but I think if they don't take a receiver at 28, I will be very, very surprised. I don't think they need to take a receiver at 22, especially if you have guys like, a Daxton Hill on the board, which I think there's a very strong possibility Dax is going to be on the board. I could also see offensive line here because, like I said, they cut Lucas Patrick. They got rid of Billy Turner. Lucas Patrick was a little bit more surprising to me. I could also see edge. Sedarius Smith's gone. Rashawn Gary, I think they're going to pick up Rashawn Gary's 5th year. Dude is a future All-Pro, but Rashawn Gary, I've always advocated for him, and they're going to pick up his 5th year. They just extended Preston Smith. That's all they have. They drafted Jonathan Garvin 2 years ago out of Miami. A lot of Miami fans they seemed very surprised that he entered as early as he did. I think he entered when he was 20 or 20. He was very young. He was young. So, and he played a good amount too. So I could also see Jermaine Johnson, but did you hear my pick, CJ, or were you out?
No, I missed it. You said defense? Oh, O-line?
I said defense. Daxton Hill.
Daxton Hill. Okay.
Daxton Hill. But yeah, I was telling him 28, I got a receiver, and I said it before we went on the air here, and I don't want you to say it. So yeah, I could see Treylon Burks. I left Treylon Burks on the board here, and I've got him going to a team here coming up. But yeah. I think Burks probably. I could see him in Arizona, but yeah.
So you got a pick for the Packers?
I see them. I think they should go defense with this pick. I agree with Sam, and then go wide receiver for that 28th pick. I think there's still some value there at 28. I think that's the best spot. They have lost some defensive guys. Darius Smith, but was a key piece. I'm not sure why they let him go. Was it because of money or?
Yeah, it was money. He was hurt. He had a back injury all year.
Right.
And, we saw the production, the big leap of Rashawn Gary, and we also saw a lot more production of Preston Smith. I would say more improvement from last year from Preston Smith into this year. So Preston earned that extension. Za'Darius was going to be a lot of money. And Za'Darius also initially almost went back to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Never signed his contract or something because it was a lot of money, too. They gave him a lot of money. And now he's in Minnesota. So.
Yeah, he did a pump fake. That was crazy. He pulled the
he's weird.
Pulled the Anthony Barr, man.
McKissick was going to the Bills like 3 times. We'll move on to the Cardinals here. And CJ, I know you had just mentioned them, so I'll let you take it away as well.
Yeah, I like Burks here. Christian Kirk just went to Jacksonville. Got the bag. A lot of expectations for him over there in Jacksonville. They re-signed AJ Green, but he's not getting any younger. Yo, Matt, what's good, brother? How you doing, man?
Yeah, we do have Sam in the building.
That's good. Yes, we do. I think he's a big body guy. You pair him up next to DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray. That whole fiasco is so weird to me. I just don't really understand what's going on. I guess he wants his money. He's a smaller guy. He needs that security. I don't blame him. But I think here at 23, I think receiver is best for them. We know Cliff Kingsbury is an offensive-minded guy. And DeAndre has dealt with some injuries over the last few seasons. So if you get a reliable guy on the outside at the wide position, I think that's great for them.
I can see receiver here. Before I make my pick, Matt, if you're still watching, I put our boy Daxton Hill over to the Green Bay Packers. But I had corner here for a long time, and I had Kyer Elam here, and I think it made a lot of sense for him to pair him back up with his buddy over here. Marco Wilson. But I've got George Karlaftis here. And they just lost, obviously, Chandler Jones, we mentioned, to the Raiders. They've got an aging J.J. Watt. He's on the second year of his 2-year contract. They don't have any depth. They drafted a guy from Duke last year, I believe, Victor Kandishi or something. They drafted a Duke guy. It wasn't Chris Rump because Chris Rump was with the Chargers, but they drafted the other Duke edge rusher. They don't have depth, and they're going to need a big replacement for Chandler Jones. That is big shoes to fill. But I've got George Karlaftis here. I like the receiver pick. I could also see corner, but I don't think the Cardinals are going to hesitate with addressing the replacement for Chandler Jones.
We move on to the Cowboys. To me, looking at it, NFL side of things, of course, I feel like they go tackle because you got to remember their tackle. Now I can't think of his name, even though he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
Tyron Smith.
Yes, thank you.
Tyron Smith, but Lyle Collins from the Bengals too.
Lost him. Tyron Smith is injured every other game. Their offensive line construction was here at one point, and now it's definitely on its way down with people retiring. You got people getting hurt all the time, people leaving the team. I feel like you got to go tackle here if you're the Cowboys, CJ. I think you might agree with me here.
Yeah, tackle or guard. I like Zion Johnson here. It could be a good spot. Guard out of Boston College. 100%. I agree with all the points you just made. They got to shore up that O-line. They got to get Zeke back into being the primary guy of that offense. We know what the numbers are when he's running well and their win-loss record, when he's having a great game and having over 100 yards. You got to go back to that power running offense. Dak, he's good. He's not great. So if you have a more balanced team, I think it definitely helps him and helps his progression. So I would go O-line for Dallas with the 24th pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't sleep on Treylon Burks here, but I completely agree.
Yes,
I mean, especially because I think there's a very good chance they lose Michael Gallup for a good chunk of the year. But then again, I mean, they have random guys pop off. They had Cedric Wilson pop off. It's crazy too because when they traded Amari Cooper, we were all on the side of Dallas got fleeced. But as the days and the weeks went on, that started to hurt the Browns a lot more because they were eating up that contract, and they were saying like Denzel Ward, Amari Cooper, Deshaun Watson. That's over $300 million of guaranteed money, and Deshaun Watson, like 90% of it's Deshaun Watson's. Because really think of it, Denzel Ward's wasn't like 50, 55. I don't remember what Amari Cooper's like full breakdown was, other than the 5-year $100 million. But Deshaun Watson got like 200 to 205 of that 300 something million, and it was all guaranteed money.
Yep.
But that Amari Cooper trade, because it was before Deshaun Watson, that Amari Cooper trade started to hurt them a lot. They had to cut guys that no one expected. They had to cut J.C. Shredder, which I think is going to hurt them a lot. I think Linderbaum is going to be a bit of a reach for Cleveland. Or excuse me, they don't have well, they're going to take a guard early. Even if Linderbaum falls, will they trade up for a guy like Linderbaum in the second? But they had to cut Austin Hooper. They had to cut Jarvis Landry. So, and now they're sitting with, Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Garrett Wilson would have been great there. But anyways, I have Trevor Penning here in Northern Iowa. A bit of a project, but he's got a lot of upside. And, if anything, they should have traded Zeke. But
washed, by the way.
I don't know if I go as far as washed, but, running back's the most replaceable in football. They should have paid Dak before all these guys. They did lose Randy Gregory. That was weird. Went to Dallas. They kept DeMarcus Lawrence, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yep. But Trevor Penning, I think, they got to continue to get young cut off the line. I wouldn't say Trevor Penning's a day one guy, but I think he's a guy that, can potentially come in, midway through the season and really start developing here. But they need to, they were Zeke's early years to the back end of DeMarco Murray's years. They were the best offensive line in football, and now they've fallen off very quickly. So they got to retool that.
Could not agree anymore with that. We move on. Listen, people, we're in the home stretch. We're coming down to the end of this, and we start with number 25 with the Buffalo Bills. And listen, there's about 7 or 8 people I know in this draft, and one of them is Breece Hall. And the only reason I know him is because I want the Bills to pick him. And listen, it sounds Patriot fan, yeah, whatever, blah, blah. I love me some Josh Allen because I was right about him coming out of the draft, so I want him to succeed because I like being right. Oh, what can I say? But they got to relieve some of the stress, my guy. You cannot have Josh Allen be Big Ben, except a more athletic version of Big Ben. And he's going to get hit 45 times a game. Get Breece Hall in there. I wanted them to pick Najee last year so bad.
Man, that would have been something.
So now you don't get Najee, but you get Breece Hall. You take some stress off of Josh Allen. CJ, how do we feel?
Yeah, Breece Hall's been a guy that's been picked by a lot of people in the mock drafts. He could definitely be a guy, like you said, kind of take some of the pressure off of Josh Allen so he doesn't have to be the running back. I'm not sure. I think they might go best player available here. It could be a defensive guy. Just looking at that divisional round, if they're able to just get a stop of Patrick Mahomes, I mean, we're having a different discussion potentially about this season. So I think they might go defense again. They took Russo, who had flashes last year, defensive end out of Miami. I think I would go linebacker, maybe get a guy next to Tremaine Edmonds, and add some more speed there. Running back, I feel like you could get a guy in the later rounds, and he could be productive. So yeah, I would go defense. I think they go best defensive player available with the 25th pick.
So I don't have running back, but I love the Breece Hall pick here. But I also think they should trade. They should trade for Saquon Barkley.
Wow.
And
you know what?
Because Saquon Barkley has, really proven to be he cannot be a guy to build around. And you give up a 3rd or 4th round pick for him. Saquon Barkley still has the upside. He goes from a team where into the Bills. The Bills have Stephon Diggs. They have Gabriel Davis. And if they went to sign Jamison Crowder, this is exactly where I would have put Jameson Williams, because that would have been an incredible slot. I've seen a lot of people put JMO as a Deshaun Jackson, and I love that a lot. Other people are way higher on J-Mo than I am. I like Jameson Williams, but I think he's good amount of slot guys in this draft, and I think J-Mo would flourish very well in Buffalo. But they got Jamison Crowder. I have Kyer Elam here at the corner. The depth is starting to deteriorate. Over in the secondary, specifically the corner. They did extend. I think they just recently extended Micah Hyde, and then Poyer. They have their secondary duo. You could argue that's one of the best in the NFL, but Breece Hall would be incredible. I think they should trade for Barkley. You cut Devin Singletary. You bring in a Barkley, Zach Moss backfield. Saquon has a lot less pressure on him. But I've got Kyer Elam here. I think you could also go Kyler Gordon here, but it's weird because this is also a team that could easily go and take Jermaine Johnson because this team just loves loading up on pass rush early in the first 2 rounds. Like Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Carlos Basham. Like
they signed Von Miller.
Von Miller. Like incredible. Like that's just talk about a team that's just loading up their defense. But they don't have a lot of guys outside of Tre'Davious White or is it Levi Wallace. They need more answers than just 2 corners.
We move on to the Titans here at 26. I don't really know. Do they try? They obviously got rid of Julio. Do they try and get a younger, wide receiver to go along with AJ? Because there's also been some talks about trying to move on from him. Well, not really move on, but everybody's getting traded right now, so that's the popular thing to do right now.
Everybody's just changing up their bio, deleting photos from IG,
archiving all the flicks after you break up with your girl after a fight.
Crazy.
Sam, what are we thinking at 26?
So I was a big edge rusher here for a while, and they traded Coleccio Smelly over to the Jags a couple of years back. Jadeveon Clowney didn't work out for them. All they really have is Harold Landry. Obviously, they got Bud Dupree. I was a big Arnold Ebiketie guy from Penn State here, but I've got the other Penn State guy, and he's a wide receiver. I've got Jahan Dotson here.
Yeah.
And, I think Jahan Dotson has shown capabilities to be a 1, but I think Dotson would flourish very well being a 2. And, they got Robert Woods, and it ticked me off that all the Titans had to give up for Robert Woods. It was a 6th-round pick. That
unbelievable.
I was very upset that the Packers could have easily done that. But
hey, Bill.
Absolute steal. But A.J. Brown. Is A.J. Brown going to be a Titan? I think DK stays. I think Terry McLaurin stays. I don't even know. Deebo might leave. Deebo might stay. I'm not counting on A.J. Brown staying. I'm not going to go on the limb and say he's gone, but I don't think he's locked in Tennessee. And you bring in Jahan Dotson as that, number 3 guy, because, there's not a lot of teams that have 3 very good wide receivers besides Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase.
Yep.
And, I've never been a fan of paying 2 receivers, but you're starting to see a trend that's going very quickly of paying 2 wide receivers. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Obviously, 2 of those 3 guys, Tyler Boyd got paid. Good chance to see all 3 of them. I think if they trade any of them, it might be T. Higgins. But you're starting to see an easy trend a quick trend, I should say, of 2 wide receivers getting paid. But I've got Jahan Dotson here, and a little bit small. And this is what I want to talk about with Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith entered the combine as 170.
Yeah.
And people knocked him for that. Jahan Dotson was 184, and he's 5'11". He's undersized, and that's the thing that people want to people want to do is, do you want a small risk? Look at the Eagles. It's worked out for the Eagles. They got Devontae Smith. That's the question that all these teams are going to ask themselves. I also like Dotson a lot in the Saints, but I don't think the Saints are going to do that with guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson's still on the board, but the biggest thing with Jahan Dotson, to me, it's not really his size, it's his physicality. And we talked about Traylon Burks being physical after the catch. I think Jahan Dotson, his route tree, in 2020 after KJ Hamler left, that's when he made the big leap. That's when he really developed his route tree. He can be a deep ball threat, but his yak ability, his yards after catch, which is the biggest thing that I look for. He's not overly physical. He's a guy that relies a lot on his speed. Which JMO does that. Jameson Williams does that, but Jameson Williams is also very physical. Jameson Williams is also a lot more physical than Jahan Dotson can. Jahan Dotson that's the one thing I'd like to see him more physical, but I think the Titans are a perfect landing spot for him. Buffalo too, and I think Jamison Crowder is a very underrated signing in Buffalo.
Sam, you're a smart man. You're a smart man.
Buffalo has their true slot wide receiver, and that needs to be talked about more. And I noticed you agree with me with Jarvis Landry. He's the most underappreciated wide receiver in the NFL. So,
Sam, you're a smart man. On my show Gen Z on Monday, me and Josh, we were saying that Jamison Crowder, it
needs to be talked about more.
I mean, hey, I think really it was kind of like it was the same thing for me. I loved the Emmanuel Sanders signing last season, and they kind of just did it again. Like, I loved it, so I totally agree. CJ, you had anything for the Titans, or we went over that? I lied.
Yeah, I like wide receiver for them. Like all the reasons Sam talked about. They could go O-line if AJ Brown deal. He doesn't want to play with Tannehill, bro. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, I think he'll get the money anywhere, but I think he wants to go to a place with a better quarterback. But yeah, they could go. I think if you get knowing the situation with Brown, he may not be there long term. You get a guy like Dotson out of Penn State, I think that's a good fit.
We go to Tampa Bay at 27. Obviously, Brady's come back. They got Godwin situated. They got Evans situated. We don't know what they're doing with the whole Gronk situation at the moment, but they're still good in that position as well. Obviously, we know that the defense is very, very good. CJ, what are you thinking at 27 here?
The front seven is good, but the second that back four, outside of Winfield Jr., not the best. I would go with Elam from Florida. I think Sam mentioned him earlier in some of the earlier picks. But yeah, they need a defensive back. They need a guy that could. They need a young guy. I think they re-signed Carlton Davis. I think so. Yeah. I don't think Dean is there anymore. I think Murphy Bunting is still there, but they need to shore up that secondary. They need to get faster there. We all know about the blown call against the Rams, which led to them taking that L in the divisional round in Tampa Bay. So yeah, I would go Elam from Florida with this pick. You got to shore up that secondary.
They've also built up that offensive line so well that, like, in my head, I first thought about it because who'd they lose? They lost Marpet, right? Yep,
retired, and Jensen. No. Quickly. AJ, I think it's Quickly. Yes.
Not Emmanuel of your New York Knicks.
No, not Emmanuel. Not Emmanuel, man.
But yeah, I mean,
AQ Shipley. There we go. Yeah, that's his name. Yeah.
Man, we've talked about it a little bit, and Sam's mentioned it probably the most out of all of us. I would love to see a Buck trade for Baker so bad. I would really love to see that. Oh yeah. Give Baker the keys after Brady leaves and goes to Miami and becomes an owner.
But does he want to sit a year though? Does he have that?
He's going to have to.
Does he want to? No, but I don't.
Carolina and Seattle are the only opportunities where he's going to start, and Carolina I can see doing that. I don't think Seattle's going to do it.
Now we're locked there. They already traded for somebody.
I think Drew Lock's starting next year.
I do too. I really do.
And my friend said this, and I think he nailed it. Drew Lock is an excuse to tank.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Listen,
once
Sam,
they traded Russell, that was a given.
See, Sam,
Bryce Young. They should tank for Bryce Young.
See, Sam, this is where you're going to get mad at me because you said you like him. I think it's the exact same thing with the Falcons. I think Mariota is an excuse to tank. I'm not a Mariota guy.
It's not that I think Mariota's the answer, but
of course not.
Mariota's better than almost every quarterback, if not every quarterback in this class. So I think Mariota is a very
crazy statement to me.
Huh?
That's such a wild statement to me as somebody who's like looking at it from the outside in. Because I look at Mariota and I'm not a fan, and you're saying he's better than everybody in this draft. I literally wouldn't take a quarterback till the 4th round.
I mean, I don't like Pickett. I like Willis. I think you could say Malik Willis. I would maybe say is the only guy. I mean, I like Matt Corral. I've seen people compare Matt Corral to Mariota, and I've also seen Baker Mayfield. So, yeah,
I'm happy our team doesn't need a quarterback this year.
I don't think Mariota is going to be their guy. But the Falcons are also going to be bad enough next year where they're probably going to finish top 5, maybe even top 3. So. It's very likely they're going to sit in a situation where they might get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud.
True.
So I didn't think to me, it's not worth it for them to wait or to take one this year. So, yeah.
Sam, I want to give it to you. I want to give the floor to you one more time because we're at 28 with the Packers and you've been keeping it a secret to the viewers.
First of all, I want to make sure my boy Matt Skura is in this chat. Second of all, I'll make this super quick while we wait for him here. I'm putting Logan Hall, Houston defensive lineman, over in Tampa Bay here.
Okay.
He's shown the ability to make plays on both sides. He can play the interior, the exterior. They extended Vita Vea, but you also got to remember Ndamukong Suh. I don't even know if they've extended Ndamukong Suh. So
yeah, I think he's still a free agent. Yeah. He's still
a free agent. So Logan Hall is extremely versatile. We talked about Ronnie Perkins. And Joe Tryon. They got Joe Tryon last year. What if they, this is going to be a little bit of a hot take, a little bit too rich for me. I think he's going to be very early in the second. We talked about Ronnie Perkins last year, and there's another Oklahoma guy that I think would fit very well in Tampa Bay. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to do it. I think Logan Hall is a little bit better, but it's Perry and Winfrey. And Oklahoma, I think, has done a very, very nice job, the development and, creating more versatility in their defensive line room. But let me get to Green Bay here. And I want Mr. Matthew Skura to please comment if you're still in here.
I just texted him to make sure that he's coming back. I said, Sam is requesting your presence. He hasn't read it yet, but...
So do you want me to
how about that, CJ? How about you go first? And we'll wait for Matt to get in.
I'll go last. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Dotson but for Green Bay. They definitely need a wide receiver. I mean, that's got to be the biggest need for them right now after the Adams trade. And Sam made some great points about Dotson and why he's really good. I think he could be a dynamic guy next to Aaron Rodgers. That'll probably be my pick there. I think I had them going defense with the first pick. So I think wide receiver would be a great spot for them. I like Dotson for Penn State. Wait for Matt to get in there.
Good news, he just texted me back. He said back. So Matt should be in here any moment.
Jackson Hill. You probably had Edge.
I think I had I think I might have went D-line. Yeah, I think I went D-line. Yeah.
Okay.
Forgot, yeah. D-line.
So I'm going to give you a hint. I don't want you to guess. It's not Traylon Burks.
You just joined the whole StreamYard. I was talking
No,
about.
you said it. You said it already earlier. So I just want to. I think.
Look who it is. It's Mr. Skura. So
what's happening?
Skura,
yo.
We're going to take a receiver at 28, and Traylon Burks going to be a great pick. But you know what's going to be better, Mr. Skura?
I know it's going to be better.
Can I get a drum roll, please?
Oh, here we go.
with the 28th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select George Pickens, wide receiver, University of Georgia. Now, I like the Dotson pick, but I knocked him on his size, and that's my biggest question. Is I think the Packers are a very good team. Example for that is: are the Packers going to want Dotson? Are they going to want a smaller receiver as their number one guy? And they signed Sammy Watkins. I don't mind it just because it's a low risk, high reward deal. It's a 1 year, $4 million contract, and if they can get him back to, at least a quarter, or if not half of what he was in Buffalo, that would be incredible. Plus, the other thing too is Rodgers made Allen Lazard look very, very good. Devontae Adams started out as a 3, so anything can happen. But Mr. George Pickens is a Green Bay Packer. I will be headed to the NFLshop.com if that happens. But George Pickens, I think he's got the highest upside in the draft. People knocked him for his character. Like I said, I think there's a difference between character and maturity, especially if you grow from it. And sure, coaches are, they're going to advocate for their players, but they're not afraid to say this guy was, a locker room problem. And, there was guys like Nakobe Dean and Kirby Smart and Stetson Bennett, who, not only praised his game, but they praised him. That's the other thing. George Pickens tore his ACL in March. George Pickens shouldn't have played last year, and he rehabbed in 7 months. In 7 months, he was crushing rehab. To me, that's incredible, and that's the other thing they praise is they put that as part of his character, his work ethic. Kirby Smart said, "I've never seen a guy work so hard to get back on the field to help his team win a national championship." Now, if they take Treylon Burks with George Pickens still on the board, I won't be mad at all. I think Burks is a future one. Like I said, I've seen some people say DK, a lot of AJ Brown. I think he's another AJ Brown. If they take Treylon Burks and Pickens is still there, I wouldn't mind that at all. But George Pickens is my pick here.
It is absolutely a great selection there. We have to get George Pickens. There's no other options. But I think it all goes as Rodgers say. If Rodgers says go get George Pickens, I think Green Bay is going to get George Pickens as well. So, but Pickens to the moon, whether at 22 or 28. I just want to see Pickens in a Green Bay uniform. 1, so it'll be a great addition at receiver, and 2, just so I could see Sam getting his jersey.
See, what a guy. Matt just wants Sam to be happy. What a guy.
Hey, he told me about it too. He told me yesterday. He's like Matt. If Green Bay drafts George Pickens, I will get his jersey.
We need to see it. We need to see it. CJ, did you have a pick here? Oh no, you already gave yours. I lied. We started yours. We started with you because we were waiting. We wanted the big reveal for Matt. We wanted the big reveal. All right. Well, listen. We move on to the last 4. We're almost there. It's been a long one, and we greatly appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, we appreciate Sam for being with us for this long, because it originally was not going to be this long. But Sam, great guy, staying with us the whole time. So how about we do this? Kansas City's back-to-back. I'll just let you guys, go back-to-back with their picks before we move on to the Bengals and the Lions. So, CJ, Chiefs back-to-back. What are we going with here?
I feel like they have to go receiver as well with one of these picks, and I would say that the other has to be safety. Well, actually, maybe not safety because they got Justin Reed from Houston. But I think one has to be receiver.
I would go corner, second one.
Corner, yeah, corner is a possibility as well. I like I can't if I mispronounce his name. I'm sorry, man. Arnold Ibakiti. Yeah, Ibakiti, edge rusher, Penn State guy. I would go with him. Got to get to the quarterback, especially in this division now. It's this division is crazy with the talent. So get an edge rusher at 29. I think that's the right spot, and then 30. Yeah, I mean, if one of these guys fall, maybe if Pickens somehow, if say the Packers take Burks and Pickens is there at 30, I could see Kansas City making that move as well.
I've got Traylon Burks here. I like that you said Burks. If Burks goes to Green Bay, I think there's a very good chance that Kansas City ends up taking best possible receiver. I think Jameson Williams would also be really fun here. Andy Reid loves speed in his wide receiver room,
just a tad bit.
But I like Traylon Burks a lot here. 30. I put Daxton Hill to the Packers. I think Daxton Hill would have made so much sense in Kansas City here. And I'm still going to stay safety here, just because, there's a very good possibility that, this guy will not be there in the second round. I'm going Lewis Cine here. I had Daxton Hill. I had Jaquan Brisker here for the longest time. But I like Lewis Cine a lot. He's my safety 4. I have Kyle Hamilton, Daxton Hill. I think Jaquan Brisker is a little bit better. I think he's a little bit more versatile than Lewis Cine, but Lewis Cine has been really, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 2 safeties being in the first round, that being Dax and Lewis Cine. I've got Traylon Burks 29, Lewis Cine, Chiefs 30.
I could see that. I could see the Chiefs going either one of those ways. On my personal opinion, I think the Chiefs should take Burks at 29 and then take care of their safety help or edge help at 30. But I think you can't go wrong with either one of those picks.
Listen, this has been a long one, and we're going to round it out here with the Bengals 31, Detroit back at 32. How about we'll go bottom to top this time? Because we'll switch it up. Sam, 31 and 32.
I think you can still make the argument that the Bengals need O-line, but they just signed Alex Kappa and Lyle Collins. So yeah. I don't think they're going to need to be super desperate for one in the first round. So, they got they missed
take
out
Ted Karras too?
Huh?
They take Ted Karras too?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't think they're going to be super desperate. Like I said, I think the Bengals are the Chiefs last offseason. When Buccaneers beat the Chiefs last year, Mahomes got sacked. And the guys opted out for COVID. They had, multiple injuries. And the Chiefs weren't messing around. They traded for Orlando Brown. They got Creed Humphrey. I can't complain about Josh Myers. Very, very good rookie season. But I wanted the Packers to draft Creed Humphrey. Chiefs weren't messing around. And, the Bengals got they missed out on Penei Sewell, which they took a lot of heat and backlash from it. And obviously Chase is working out for them now.
Yeah.
And ended up taking Clemson's Jackson Carman last year in the second round. But they weren't messing around either. And, they've Jonah Williams, Jackson Carman, but Alex Kappa, Karras, Lyle Collins. I don't think they're going to need to be super desperate for taking an O-line first. I'm going corner here. And, they only got Eli Apple, I think, for another year now. I'm going Kyler Gordon. I put Kyler Elam over to the Bills. I'm going Kyler Gordon. I do like Roger McCreary, but, his problem is doesn't have that arm length like guys like Booth, McDuffie, Kyler Gordon. I really like Auburn's Roger McCreary. Had a very, very good combine, but, I think that's what's going to be. It's going to have that. I think that's what's going to drop him a bit, is the body frame and, his arm length. But I'm going to put Kyler Gordon here, corner from Washington.
Yeah, I'd agree. I like that as well. I think the Bengals are most likely going to take this 31st pick and address their defense. Like Sam mentioned, they took care of their O-line in the offseason with free agency, signing Keppa and signing Lyle Collins. I think the O-line is set there. The only thing you got to worry about is that defense and pair somebody up with Chris Apple in that secondary, because you're going to need – you don't want to get somebody that's a crispy apple. You need someone that's going to lock down the defense.
Crispy apple is crazy. Yeah, I like corner for Cincinnati as well. Kyler Gordon, yeah, like Sam alluded to, I think that's a good spot. And then for 32 for the Lions, another Georgia guy, I would say Quay Walker, linebacker. They need a sideline guy, versatile at that position. I think that's a good spot for him and Detroit.
Sam, you seem to like that. You agree?
Yeah, I like the Quay Walker's a riser. And I also want to point out, too, I mentioned about Trayvon Walker before Matt had joined. I think if you put Trayvon Walker on a team like Matt's LSU Tigers, he's the first pick. And, we talked about Georgia, being arguably the best team. You want to know? Do you know who Georgia's leading tackler was this past season?
Yeah, I do.
It was Channing Tindall. And Channing Tindall didn't even start. That's incredible. Like, I don't think he'll rise into the first, but there's a very good chance he could rise into the second round because of that. I'd be shocked if he's not in day 2. But, yeah, I like Quay Walker. Quay Walker has been a guy that has risen up a lot of people's draft boards. I think linebacker makes a lot of sense here. If I had Jameson Williams picked earlier, I would have easily put Nakobe Dean here. I think Nakobe Dean would have made a lot of sense. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Not just first round, just to put him in the first round, but Detroit. I think you got to put more speed in that wide receiver room. They've got the athleticism. They got Quintez Cephas, extremely athletic. Quintez Cephas ran like a 4.7 40. Amon-Ra, I believe, was on 4.5, 4.51. Obviously J-Mo didn't run it towards ACL, but they got to beef up that speed in the wide receiver room. I think Jameson Williams would be a really, really nice fit for them at 32 for Detroit.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. I think for Detroit, you have to add another weapon, for Amon-Ra, St. Brown, a bunch of others. And for MCDC, you got to bite more than 3 kneecaps. That's
I also want to point out
enough.
Too, that my boy Caleb Skinner and I were big Amon-Ra stands last year. I guess his last year at USC. We had him as our wide receiver 5. I know it's take all the time you need. I know it's hard to take in, but he was our wide receiver 5. And my buddy's a Lions fan, and I was over at his house a couple weeks ago, and he said, "There's one player that I have to commemorate you on that you were right," and it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I love Amon-Ra. I love USC wide receivers. I like Pittman. I like London. I don't think London. I think he'll be better than Amon-Ra, but I don't think he'll be better than Pittman. I think I told Caleb this the other day. Maybe you, Matt. I've got past couple of years. I've had my guy receivers: Mike Williams, Michael Pittman Jr., George Pickens, and Amon-Ra last year.
So you're a minimum 2 of 2, minimum.
Yeah, sure. And I'll give you one early. And actually, I want you to guess it for next year. I don't know if I told Matt this. If I did, I probably did.
Hold on. I think you did. Let me pull this up here.
Oh no! If I told you, then don't say it. I want them to guess it. And
Well, I'll tell you who can't guess it. This guy.
I'll
CJ.
wait. Yeah.
you know who it is, Matt?
Mhm.
Big bodied. He torched Oklahoma's secondary, and I know, Big 12 guys aren't known for having elite defenses, but they produce a lot of individual defensive players, as we've seen. Ronnie Perkins, Perry Winfrey, Kenneth Murray. This guy's a Big 12 wide receiver.
Big 12 wide receiver. I'm blanking, man. Blanking.
Quentin Johnston,
Yep.
TCU.
Quentin Johnston.
Quentin Johnston, TCU. I don't think he's top 3 by any means. I don't think he's Keyshawn Botte. I don't think he's Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's another guy that I, as a Badger fan, that wide receiver room. Jameson Williams was a Buckeye.
You're right, yeah. That was a great wide receiver room.
Right. And they still they're leaving with they had Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison.
They are now coming back with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., and what is his name? Emeka Egbuka. He was the 5-star coming in last year. He started, got a good amount of playing time. He's going to play a lot. So that's a young. They're losing a good amount up front. They lost Josh Myers last year. They're losing Nicholas Petit-Frere and Thayer Munford, who I mentioned. But they still got Travian Henderson, and they have a young wide receiver. They're losing Jeremy Ruckert, but it's incredible. Like the amount of depth that they continue to put in that wide receiver at Ohio State is just incredible.
Facts.
Well,
Yeah,
listen,
absolutely.
that was an unbelievable job by CJ and Sam, and then Matt at the end. Because talk about backpacking a show. I was just here, deciding who I was, telling to talk first. I did absolutely nothing. So shout out CJ, shout out Sam for basically doing a full mock draft, which was first of all not planned, and second of all was still utterly fantastic. So thank you both very much. And listen, it's been 2 hours, 15 minutes, a long one, a wonderful time. But we're going to head out. But of course, before we do, I have to let our guests below us, CJ, tell them where they can find them, tell them what they're up to. And Sam, we'll start with you, of course, because you've been so wonderful for us. So remind everybody where they can find you and what you're up to, brother.
Yeah, I'm over at CBS 58 over in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm very fortunate. I work with some very talented people, very talented reporters. I've learned so much. It's been just coming up on 3 months here. It's awesome. So go find me on there. If you got a story idea, send me a DM. I love it. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, congratulations there, brother.
Yeah, congratulations, man. For real, bro. Congratulations on that, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
One of the best out of the Unwrapped fan. I'll tell you that one. Matt, what do you got?
Well, we got my Twitter handle down below, Matt_Skura. Instagram at Matt_Skura21. Check out both of those links in the bio. Me and my great friend Caleb Conant have a sports podcast called MCS Real Sports Podcast. We talk all things NBA and NFL related. You name it, we're available everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, iHeartRadio. You name it, we're there. And then also tune into Twitter because CJ always has a Twitter space going up, ranting about the Nets on why the Knicks are New York City and basketball in general.
He's not wrong. CJ?
Yeah, Guard Up Podcast at Guard Up Pod, dropping some IG Rails playoff reactions every single day, covering the games. A podcast on the way, new episode on the way. Twitter, you can find me at the handle right there for the people watching us. CJames9_. Twitter, Twitch, CJ versus the world.
Playmaker.
Yeah, playing some Madden, some 2K every once in a while. And Sam, Matt, thanks again for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, bro.
Yes, sir. As for me, you guys know what it is by now. Anthony Conover _ over there on Twitter. You can follow me there. Generational Sports. Me and Josh do that every Monday at 7 Eastern. Everything from MMA, NBA, NFL, whatever we want to talk about, we're doing it over there. Tuesday, obviously, me and CJ do this. Everything in the football world, we got you covered. Obviously, we broke down what we think is going to happen in the draft. Next week, we'll be able to talk about what actually happened in the draft. So make sure you come back and tune into that one. And then Thursday, I got Backstop Banter with me and Michael. It was basically this show, except you replaced the NFL with the MLB, okay? Talking everything in the baseball world, we got you covered. Anthony _Conover over there on Twitch. I put all the pods there. All 3 of those podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're available.
Oh, I forgot too. Michael and I also do a podcast called Count the Bucket. Michael Lawson, Nick Andre, Mark Bellevue as well, covering all things NBA. Make sure to follow us. Just like Connie covers all things baseball with Michael, I do all things basketball with Michael. So make sure to check that out as well, streaming on all platforms.
Yes, sir. And with all that being said, I once again, Sam, thank you very much. Matt, thank you for coming in at the end. CJ, another wonderful job by my guy as well. Listen, we will see everybody next week, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. But until then,